Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, joined as always by...
I'm me, I'm Rob. Let's get the show on the road. We got a lot to talk about.
Oh, we have so much to talk about as I'm finally back in my rightful place here.
Back again.
In the goofball lair. Now that I'm out of my quarantine, I'm allowed to roam freely around the house again.
Drewfus is back. Drewfus is back. Drewfus is back.
Nah.
Yeah, enough friends.
Nah.
All
right, guys. So we got, as Rob said, we have a lot of news here to go with you guys here. We had a lot to go over, and then all of a sudden, about an hour or two ago, I guess, the Giants made a big splash here. So all of a sudden, we're overloaded with information to give you guys here. But you know what? We're doing it. We're going for it. We got a lot to go over. We have a new hire within the Giants organization. We got some news around the NFL overall. We got to go over a whole bunch of information here for this wild card weekend coming up. This is the most fun weekend probably in all of the playoffs because of the fact that there's the most games in all of the playoffs this week compared to other weeks there. So,
and it's wild card weekend. Anything could happen.
It's a wild card. You never know.
Wild.
So wild and crazy. All right, let's go over the very first thing. The news that just broke here. Oh, yes, the breaking news that the Giants have hired Carmen Bricillo as the offensive line coach there. Now, you may remember we talked about him briefly a couple of days ago as the Giants did request permission from the Raiders and were granted it to interview him. He spent the last 2 seasons as the Raiders offensive line coach. Before that, he spent a few years with the Patriots, including being their offensive line coach the last year there. Overall, I'll tell you, it's been a rush the last couple hours here trying to do a whole bunch of homework on this guy here. I'll say this is what I've seen from him overall. His lines have not been elite, but they've all been above average.
I was about to say, they're usually about a top 10, I would give it a ballpark.
Yeah,
but not a top 5.
Yeah. He's not Philly or Detroit.
Yeah.
But what I have noticed a theme going on is he's developed guys that didn't necessarily have a top line pedigree, which is interesting because we have top line pedigree that we can't develop.
Should be interesting.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting mix there because, listen, this is a guy who can teach undrafted rookie free agents and 7th-round picks into being starters in this league that play better than our first-round picks. It's not a bad hire.
So you're saying Evan Neal has a chance?
No, I don't think he has a chance. I think he has a chance at guard. I'll still say that, but that's the last shot he gets from me. Even that's not a guarantee. Nothing would shock me with him. But I'll say this, the one knock that you're going to see like crazy that I've heard already is that the fact that the Giants didn't necessarily cast a wide net. They didn't necessarily go crazy. Did anyone do 10, 12 interviews, all this kind of crazy stuff. And I got to say, I don't think it's very fair for people to critique that because we don't have all the information first off. We know that they obviously requested information to interview this guy. We know we requested an interview with the Falcons offensive line coach, and that was declined. You know, we all know if you watch this show even once in a blue moon that I wanted an open checkbook for Mike Munchak. But you got to remember something here, guys. It takes 2 to tango. For all we know, the Giants reached out to a whole bunch of other people who all said no.
Yeah, I mean, they also could have, from the get-go, this could have been their number one guy.
Could have been.
As they were reaching out. And he blew out the interviews.
Very well could have. And that's what I'm saying. We don't know. I hate I don't have all the information, and I'm going to blast you anyway. That's the dumb mentality to have, guys. Now, could we question, hey, did they do enough? I don't know. You know, I could say that very honestly. I don't know if they casted a wide enough net. I don't know if they took enough interviews. I don't know if they spoke to enough people. But for me to blanket say they didn't.
Who knows if the Mayer family reached out to Pierce, what you call it, Antonio Pierce, and just be like, hey, what do you think of this guy?
Oh, I guarantee you that was happening. I also guarantee you talked to Belichick because he coached under Belichick.
Yeah.
I'll guarantee the conversation was there as well. The Giants like people they have connections with. And this is a guy who fit that bill. May not have coached directly for the Giants in the past, but he's coached for people who have been within the Giants organization. So there's that fifth degree of Kevin Bacon going on there. First one, Jeremy Fowler of ESPN. The Giants have announced it on their website, so it's got to be signed, sealed, delivered, and everything at this point here. So last year with the Raiders, their line, and keep in mind, their offense was atrocious, guys. Absolutely atrocious. Let's be very frank on that. Let's not sugarcoat it. Let's not say otherwise. It's a shit offense. Any worse, they'd be ours.
Yeah, they were just about like in the same category of us.
Yeah, so, it's bad. It's bad. But their offensive line was not bad, and that's the weird thing. It's like the reverse problems that we had there. Last year, they were ranked number 9 overall in pass protection and number 14th in run blocking, while having 2 former undrafted free agents as starters on the offensive line, guys. Again, this was not a line full of studs and stars. They had 1 first-round pick, by the way, who was their left tackle Miller, who was a 15th overall pick in the draft a few years ago, and had a stellar season. Had a better PFF grade than Andrew Thomas. So, yeah, not a bad get necessarily. Now, they had 6 different offensive linemen with over 450 snaps this season. So, meaning which you figure, remember we talked about the full seasons that Okereke and McKinney had done this year in the defense. They had about 1,200, I want to say, snaps.
Yeah,
so you're talking. So in other words, they had 6 different people who played at least 450 snaps, and 5 of them had PFF grades over 69.
Yeah,
that's pretty damn good for everybody involved. You got that right.
Oh yeah.
This unit had been credited with giving up just 21 sacks this season. To be very clear, that's about a quarter of the sacks the Giants offensive line gave up.
That was about 2 or 3 games the Giants had.
Yeah, like legit. Like that's impressive, guys. And keep in mind they did that with Aiden O'Connell for a lot of the season, who was not just a rookie, but a low-end rookie. Like, he wasn't like a first-round pick guy. He was a 4th-round pick, a 5th-round pick.
Something like that.
They didn't have the best guy behind the center. We talked about that during the season, where having the right quarterback helps the offensive line. Having them see things pre-snap, having them not get right to the quarterback untouched. Things like that at least I mentioned. I don't want to put your words in your mouth there, Rob, but I mentioned a couple of times. Daniel Jones certainly missed. But
and DeVito and Tyrod.
Well, I'm just saying, like you expect it from a rookie and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So it's like you expect it from somebody like that who doesn't necessarily understand how to read defenses yet, and that's what they were dealing with there, and they still excelled. So that's
I mean, they had the revolving door of quarterbacks as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jimmy G, and then who they have after him?
Did they have Brian Hoyer for a little bit?
Yeah, Hoyer was right. I
want to see Brian Hoyer. Yep. Aiden O'Connell, obviously. AOC. Not that AOC.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's like I said, it's pretty impressive. Now, one thing I looked at, and again, this is another thing, I look at patterns. The Giants have a pattern overall of they hire a coach, they bring people on from their system. It helps to teach the system overall. The guy gets to act kind of like an assistant coach, the offensive line coach there. It's what they do. Remember back we had James Betcher and half our defense was ex-Cardinals?
Yeah.
It's what we do. How many Buffalo Bills we have on the team now?
About a third of them.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this is what the Giants do. So I took it a step further and said, besides getting Carmen Bricillo, who else from the Raiders might we get now? And I looked to see who they have as far as free agents coming up. And there's a lot of free agents on that line, guys. A lot of free agents. And these aren't top names. These aren't, oh my God, this guy's going to get Boku bucks kind of people.
Yeah,
like,
probably vet minimum.
Yeah, I wouldn't say vet minimum, but these are guys that are going to get paid still, but they're not going to get paid like whether it be $15 million, $20 million a year kind of offensive lineman here. So from that line, they have Andre James, Jermaine Illuminor. Hope I'm pronouncing that one right. It's the only one I'm not sure of the pronunciation on. Greg Van Roten, which some of you guys, if you guys also follow the Jets, remember the net name because he was a former Jet a few years ago. By the way, did not go well his time at the Jets. Did not go well.
That's
many
most
times
of the players
too. And then we got Horonis Grasu as well.
Say that 5 times fast.
That one, dude, I spelled it out phonetically. I meant to do that with Jermaine's last name as well to make sure I get that right. Andre James was their center. He played 98% of the snap for them last year in 16 starts. Had a PFF grade of 74.6, and he's just 26 years old. Now, he did all spend his first 2 seasons at the tackle position, which is the main reason I'm bringing him up because we're not going to, let me be very frank, we're not getting another center. JMS is going to be the center next year. But
he's going to be the dude.
If you have a guy like this who could play maybe guard next to him because he's got a little versatility because he's played tackle before, if you think that's an option, he's maybe not a bad guy to look at to go ahead and pick up in this offseason. And you know who might know if he could play guard or not? Bricillo might have an idea on that. So this is where it becomes interesting. He was one of the guys who was undrafted. He was undrafted back in 2019 from UCLA. So going from undrafted to a guy pushing 75 on a PFF grade, that's not too shabby, guys. Not too shabby at all. Jermaine, I'm going to say Jermaine because like I said, I'm probably mispronouncing his last name there. 29 years old, listed as their starting right tackle currently on their depth chart. But he's also played guard as well. So you got, again, versatility. He's appeared in all 17 games this season, had 14 starts, played 87% of the offensive snaps in the season to give you an idea of how often he's actually been on the field. Has a PFF grade of 68.5. Now, the interesting thing about Jermaine, besides the fact he was born in London, so he might have a cool accent.
Charlie good.
Yeah, chip chop Charlie.
Yeah. Well, I say, hey, I blocked this tackle right now, hey.
He also went to high school in Denville, New Jersey.
Oh.
Now, I look at stuff like that because if I am a professional player, I'm obviously growing up a Giants fan. If I had the chance to go play for the Giants or somebody else, if there needs to be a tiebreaker, guess what the tiebreaker is? The fact that I grew up a Giants fan. I don't know if he did or didn't.
I don't know.
I'm just saying it's a possibility. He could have been. He could have been a Jet fan. There's so many of those when they're winning.
You see young for that.
But yeah, like I said, another interesting one there. Who's a 5th-round pick for the Ravens back in 2017, drafted out of Texas A&M. He also played for Bricillo over in New England as well. So it's the second tour of duty with them. So obviously the two get along. Again, versatility, plays better than the people we got right now, should be pretty cheap, local guy. There's a lot to do with this guy where you go, this guy could be a guy you pick up.
Yeah,
you don't necessarily give him a spot. You don't necessarily give him a spot at that point, like, hey, you're going to be our right tackle, or hey, you're going to be our right guard. But you can put him on there, see where he pops in, see where he fits right, and go for it. I'll tell you right now, he's good. He's competition in that spot. He's good enough to start on our squad based on who we had on there this year. That's for damn sure. All right. Greg Van Roten started all 17 games at right guard. He's 33 years old, a former Bill. That was before Dable, though, so there's no Dable connection. Former Jet, former Panther, former Packer. So, yeah, he's been around the block a few times there.
He's got
himself
a few rides.
Had a PFF grade of 75.3 last year. That's pretty damn good, guys. Went to high school in Mineola, New York as well. So again, another local guy. Was another undrafted guy from 2012 from the University of Pennsylvania. UPenn is not really known for football.
Nope.
They're known for smart people. And then the last one I got is really a long shot here because I don't even think we necessarily need him, but it wouldn't shock me. Horonis Grasso. Well, hope I'm pronouncing that one right as well. Like I said, I looked up a lot on his name because I had no clue how to pronounce it whatsoever. Guy's actually Romanian. His family immigrated from Romania, and his parents started a pizzeria. I learned a lot about him in the process here. So he's a backup center who spent much of the year on the Raiders practice squad, played just 15 snaps in 2 games for the Raiders. But that's a guy that I could potentially see them bringing in as just a camp body. He's 32 again. He's a 32-year-old backup. Let's be honest. The end is coming, especially when you played most of the season on the backup. Not necessarily a bad camp body to bring in at a minimum deal that if we have to cut him, we don't lose anything on. Now, here's another interesting part of it. For anybody who watches or knows the WNBA, his fiance is Sabrina Ionescu, who was the former overall number 1 draft pick back in 2020 and plays for the New York Liberty.
Oh.
So that might be a reason for him to also look at the Giants as a potential get together there because they just got engaged in the last year or so. So this is kind of a new travel. Exactly. So like I said, a couple players for us to look at now. Now, he only had, like I said, most of those snaps. So we don't have a PFF grade on him, though. But again, Van Roten, 75.3. Jermaine had a 68.5. Andre James, 74.6. Let me give you an idea where our guys were this year, guys. Andrew Thomas, best line when we have by far. Obviously had an off year, and this is a lower number than usual for him because of the injuries and everything. 76.1. John Michael Schmitz, 41.4. Ben Bredesen, 42.1. You think we might be able to use these guys?
I think there might be some improvement.
Yeah, like I said, I really think you're going to see 1 or 2 of these guys potentially in the camp at the very least. I really do. This is the Giant way. We bring people on that have a history. It's the smart thing to do. So we'll see how good of an offensive lineman coach he is. But let me put it this way. Based on history, he should be a large improvement over Bobby Johnson. The question is it a large enough improvement?
Listen, like you said, you're probably not going to bring all these guys on, but you bring like 2 of these guys on, 3 of these guys on.
Oh, yeah.
It makes a big difference. And like you said, when your top 3 guys in the PFF, the one, it's off here, it's whatever, he's 76. And then your next best is 41 and 42. Like, it's a big dip.
Yeah. Well, and what I want to do is include some people that have a chance to be on the team next year. Bredesen, we have to re-sign. JMS is obviously going to be there. But let's be honest. Besides JMS and Andrew Thomas, can you sit there and tell me one guy is an automatic shoo-in?
Yeah.
So I'm looking at it as we need potentially 2 starting linemen. If you want to say Evan Neal is a shoo-in to start somewhere, whether it's guard or tackle, and we need at least 2 starting linemen. 1 guard and 1 guard or tackle.
Well, even like you said, you bring these guys in.
Yeah.
Some of the guys you have now they will improve.
Yeah, hopefully.
With the track record. If not, you can get on the cheap some of the replacements.
Yeah.
Or their backups.
And on top of that, look at the backups we got. Josh Azudu can't stay healthy. Marcus McKeithen can't stay healthy. Shane Lemieux probably not going to get re-signed. Matt Pert probably not going to get re-signed. Tyree Phillips, who knows if he's going to be re-signed. We need backups too, guys.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with having a ton of competition in camp. I want that because I really think part of the issue the Giants had in that first week against the Cowboys was we were soft as hell in practice. And it showed up in week 1. It really did. We barely played the starters in the preseason, and they were treated with pillow fights in the training camps.
When everyone's like, "Oh my God, the Bears were so rough."
Well, that was the Lions. Remember that?
That's what I'm
saying. The Lions, so rough. All righty, guys. Now we have some more information to go over here. Before we get to the rest of the Giants news, we got the big news of the day here was the end of the era. Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots have parted ways today after 24 seasons together. And by all accounts, Bill does intend on coaching next season. Rumor has it. I knew someone would do it. that the Falcons might be a good shot. And there's a lot of people saying that he's going to avoid the AFC to avoid potentially competing against the Patriots at some point.
Yeah,
he doesn't want to go against them really if he can avoid it.
I've heard that.
But Falcons,
also at the same point, the Falcons would be interested because you know who's hosting the Falcons this year? The Patriots. I was listening to the schedule. So he can go to the Falcons and still
go there with like a tribute game and stuff like that. And yeah. Which I'm sure he would just hate, honestly. His personality, he would absolutely hate that.
Hey, listen, I've been saying this for months now. He goes to San Diego.
I think it's the spot to go. Listen, I would go there in a heartbeat on him.
Yeah, you get the best quarterback in the league. Your defensive mind. Well, not in the league, but that's going to be available to go for a head coach's spot.
The only other spot that I would say is a better spot for him, and I would hate it personally. But
DC.
let's say hypothetically, no, not even DC. Let's say hypothetically,
I know where you're going to go with this.
A certain team in Dallas loses this weekend, and they fire McCarthy. I could see him go in and be the Phil Jackson kind of guy that steps to Los Angeles with the squad already there, get them over the hump.
Yeah.
I would hate it as a Giant fan, but I could see that potentially being what they'd want to do, depending on what happens with their DC and everything. There's other things on there. Also, I saw the whole event was televised, and I was wondering the whole time, like, why are they televising this event? Bill's got somebody up in the AC event there with the camera recording the whole thing. We're good. We don't need anybody to record this whole thing. We're good. Let's go over the NFL records here real quick that Bill Belichick has. I think we all know by now, so we'll go by nice and quick. Most Super Bowl wins, 8. Most Super Bowl wins, the head coach, 6. Most Super Bowl appearances, 12. Most Super Bowl appearances, the head coach, 9. Most playoff wins, the head coach, 31. Most playoff appearances, the head coach, 19, which is a tie. Most divisional championships, the head coach, 17. Most playoff games coached, 44. And he's third all time on wins at 302, just behind George Halas and Don Shula. So, yeah, very, very impressive career that apparently he's going to have a little bit more potentially onto it. But at his age, I can't imagine much more. Can't imagine. Yeah. He's got to be tired. He's got to be tired, right?
He's been tired for 20 years. Have you seen that face? Seriously? It hasn't changed.
Oh, my gosh. Insanity. Got a couple of news out of the Giants land here. The Giants Insider, which, by the way, if you guys don't follow them, great source. Those guys do mail-in magazines. They've been doing for years. They do podcasts. They do video series on YouTube and everything. Very good guys as well. I've been on their show once before. They're reporting that Xavier McKinney wasn't going to consider re-signing with the Giants if Wink Martindale was still the defensive coordinator. Yeah. So that's how bad the relationship was between those two. I'm just saying, the Wink shit's just piling up, guys.
Yeah, for all the Wink fans that were sitting there taking the side, not knowing anything, it's not looking good.
No. Though I did find it funny, he was traveling at Newark Airport wearing his hoodie with the cutoff sleeves and this, like, the quintessential Wink Martindale getup. Like,
yeah,
it was funny. It's like you expected maybe wearing like a t-shirt, a hat, or something.
I would expect him and Bill Belichick to be like drinking buddies at a redneck bar.
Oh gosh,
cutoff hoodies,
a country western biker bar.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, here's what I really take away from this, and I haven't heard anybody take this angle, but I'm going to take it right now. The rumor was that the Giants wanted to go ahead and keep Wink Martindale, not just because that's what Dable said in the press conference, but that's been reported that even after Dable and Wink had their argument and Wink walked out, there were still some people that wanted to repair that relationship and have Wink come back as a DC. That being said, if they knew what the Giants Insider just reported, that tells you what the Giants' plans are with Xavier McKinney.
Yeah.
Or if you really wanted Wink Martindale back, and you had heard it all, and I got to imagine that the Giants Insider guys, don't get me wrong, they've been around for a while. They have sources definitely within the organization. They're friends with, with plenty of ex-players like Carl Banks and Mark Collins and those kind of guys. But if they had the connections to hear that, I have to imagine Joe Shane and company had those same connections, if not more connections. So, I got to say that it looks to me like just based on that, don't be shocked if Xavier McKinney signs elsewhere. And I think that wouldn't shock me also just based on the stuff he's saying right now. He's the most versatile safety in all of football and blah, blah, blah. This man is tooting his horn more than anybody I've ever seen going into free agency. He's looking for big payday. It's a safety position.
I mean, he's also a horn tooter if you ever listen to him.
I'm just saying
that upbeat guy.
He's got the platform for it now, though.
Yeah, it's true.
So we'll see what happens. I mean, I could be wrong. It would be the first time. But if I was a betting man, I would bet on Xavier McKinney not being with the Giants next year. So on to some sad news. Remember a little while ago, I guess a few months ago, Michael Strahan had stepped away from Good Morning America and everything, and people didn't quite know why. First off, kudos to everybody involved with that network for keeping their damn mouth shut. Because you always have like that image of like one like sleazy reporter that wants to break the news before Strahan wanted to publicly do it, and he did it in a very orchestrated manner, which is fine. It's a very delicate topic, but it was announced today that Michael Strahan's daughter Isabella is battling brain cancer. She was apparently diagnosed back in October after having issues with headaches, dizziness, and apparently woke up with blood coming out of her even one morning.
Ugh.
So yeah. After the discovery, she had a golf ball-sized tumor removed. So think about that as a brain tumor. Golf ball. Think about a golf ball in your head. That's a big size. I don't know. I don't pretend to be a cancer specialist or somebody who knows tons on that kind of stuff. But I'm thinking in my head like the size of a golf ball in my brain. And I'm a big guy, so I have a very big head because of that. I don't know her size, but I'm thinking like in my head, like a golf ball. It's got to be like 15 to 20% of your brain skull. That's a pretty big size. Anyway, she had it removed. It was followed by 4 weeks of rehab and several rounds of treatments. She begins chemotherapy next month over at Duke, which is actually where her identical twin apparently goes to college. So at least that'll be good. She'll have family nearby there. But yeah, obviously all the best to her and the Strahan family. That is something that you would not wish upon your worst enemy.
No.
So,
Thoughts and prayers for Strahan.
Yes. Oh yes. All right, let's get into football itself here, guys, because we promised you guys a breakdown of all the games. We promised we'd give you guys here a preview as well as our picks on each of the games here coming up. And we have, oh my God, so much information to give you guys in each of these games here, breaking everything down. Probably at more of a level than we should for a Giants podcast, but we just love football. Screw it, we're doing it.
We're doing wild card weekend. Yeehaw!
Wild card. Woo, wild and crazy.
We're two wild and crazy guys. Hey.
So before we do that, this is going to be, for those who are regular listeners, this is going to be kind of a combination of our picks episode and our preview episode. So, Rob, why don't you tell the folks about last week's picks there before we get started with going over things individually on these games?
Oakley dokley. Mr. Drew, in week 18, you picked 9 games in the straight up, which puts you at 165 for the year, putting you at a 60.66 completion rate on the year. It's pretty good pickups.
Considering, and this is the one thing I should say, we do percentages. Keep in mind, guys, we do every single game because our percentages would be much higher if we avoided the games we want to avoid. We do every single game. There's no chickening out.
Yeah, there have been a lot of games where I El Paso'd. But
seriously, we already picked like 4 or 5 games each week. We'd be like probably 70% for the year. Those games were always right on, pretty much. Feels like.
Seems to be. That being said, you were even better against the spread this past week. You had 10. Which puts you at 130 on the year, putting you at 47.79%, which is still pretty damn good. Like if you go and somebody's spending betting apps, that's like what the experts are like sitting at
when they're skipping games.
When they're skipping games, exactly.
We're doing every single game.
Your over under this week was 8 when you had 131 in the year, which gives you 48.16%. And Drew, this is the category that you've been pretty solid at all year as well. The trifectas. You got 5, which puts you at 61 on the year, which, listen to this man doing his trifectas, gets you 22.43%. If you just listen to your heart with the trifectas, Drew would have won you some money.
Now, for those who aren't aware, because the trifecta is more of our own terminology here, that's picking the winner, picking the spread pick, and picking the over-under pick in the same game. Kind of our own thing we like to do. Give it a little bonus points for us for being that right in the game.
Yeah, make it fun.
Exactly.
All right. I had 11 wins straight up. Give me 171 on the year, which puts me at 62.87% on the year. I had 10 wins against the spread, tying you this week, putting me at 150 on the year. Give me 55.15% on the season. I had 6 with the over-unders, which I was lackluster this year, putting me at 127 on the year, 46.69% through the year. 3 trifectas, give me 59, where Drew beats me over there on the year, with 21.69% on the year. So, Drew, when it breaks down, it was a very close year on us. I beat you by 6 overall on the whole season against the spread. I spanked you in the.
No, that's straight up.
Straight up, I beat you by 6. I spanked you on the spread, beating you by 20.
That's the big difference with us right now is the spread picks.
You won the over-unders by 4 and the trifectas by 2. Sir, kudos. I wish I had something for you to eat this week.
We had so last week I did win the last week challenge we had, but the big difference, if you count all the points up together, was 20 points in the regular season, which was 100% your difference between me and you on the spread picks.
Yeah, everything else is just so close.
Yeah, everything else we were like even on. It was the spread picks where you got me there. So kudos to you, sir. Kudos to you, sir.
Here's another good year. Golf clap.
Your bonus is in the mail.
Sure.
All right, let's get
sports books out there. I'm here to hire.
Let's
sponsor us.
We've had a couple we talked to, so
yeah.
Let's get into the games here. So we're going to kind of give you guys each game. We're going to preview them and then give our picks for those games. Then move on to the next one there. So first up, we got obviously the first Saturday game, 4:30 p.m. The Browns at the Texans. Texans are a 2.5 point underdog. Over under is 44.5. So you guys may remember they played just a couple weeks ago. So if it sounds like a familiar matchup, there's a good reason. They played back in week 16, but the big difference is CJ Stroud was not playing in that game. The Browns won 36-22. The game was definitely much more of a blowout than it appeared, though, because Texans scored 14 points in garbage time in the fourth quarter. Made it a little closer than it actually appeared to be. It was a blowout from start to finish, basically. So the obvious thing is CJ Stroud is a huge upgrade over Davis Mills, who played then back in week 16. But the Browns also have a great pass defense, allowing just 5.9 yards per attempt, which is tied for the best in the league, along with the league low is 57.4 completion percentage. And the second lowest passer rating allowed is just 74.7. Now, CJ Stroud this year, obviously, he's a rookie. Rookies tend to struggle against better defenses. He struggled this season the 2 times he did face a top 5 passer rating allowed defense, which was Baltimore and New Orleans there. So we'll have to see what he can do and how much of an upgrade he is over Davis Mills, because, yes, he's an upgrade. But considering he's had a little bit of trouble with better defenses, considering he's also dealing with, just coming back from injury the last couple weeks, we'll have to see how much better he really is at that point there. Yeah. I want to see if he can find his deep target. His deep target, Nico Collins, in that game had just 4 catches for 18 yards while battling also a calf injury, so he also wasn't 100% healthy. So how much of that was the injury? How much was the QB play? How much of that was just the Browns defense just being freaking amazing? On the season, he had 80 receptions, 1,297 yards, 8 touchdowns. The Browns on their season, though, held wide receivers to a 71.0 rating, which is second best in the league. And Martin Emerson and Denzel Ward were arguably the best cornerback duo in football this season. If you really though want to go after the Browns on defense through the air, which I wouldn't really recommend it, but if that's your route you want to go, if that's the route you want to go, the Browns have been slightly below average when covering tight ends of the season, averaging a 99.9 rate, which is 17th in the league. So you think about it, 32 teams, you're just below, literally just below average, basically. So obviously covering tight ends. What tight end we have to cover? Dalton Schultz, the ex-Cowboy. You guys remember him from his few years there with the star in his helmet there.
He's got a couple yards against us.
Yeah, he had a good week 16 there for them as well against the Browns. He had 8 catches for 61 yards. On the season, he had 59 receptions, 635 yards, and 5 touchdowns. So not a bad season at all. Now, if you really want to attack the Browns, though, this is where you do it, on the ground. Cleveland allows 4.4 yards per carry to running backs this season. That's tied for 22nd in the league. Devin Singletary is the Texans' leading rusher there, 898 yards on the season with a 4.2 yards per carry average with 4 touchdowns. So that's the problem you'll run into. That's not their forte, running the ball.
No.
So you have a team that's a passing offense against a team that's built to stop the pass.
And you got Singletary. How old is that guy now?
75.
Just about.
I mean, he's probably in his late 20s. I mean, he just feels like he played
That's
forever. He's 26. He's 26. He just feels like he's played forever because he played with the Bills for how many years? But yeah. But like I said, that's the issue is you got strength versus strength. And unfortunately, not everybody can win in that scenario. Someone's got to lose. Yeah. On the Brown side, Joe Flacco in that week 16 matchup was 27 of 42 for 368 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's thrown for over 300 yards the last 4 weeks. The big question with him is, can he control the INTs? He's thrown a lot of interceptions, guys. He's thrown them at like a pace of like Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm surprised you didn't do this. Like, if you would have took up his past 4 weeks, 5 weeks since he's come up, he would have been throwing over 500 yards, like 70 touchdowns, and like 30 interceptions.
Oh yeah. Listen, I'm not, and that's why I'm not knocking him for it as like, I'm not knocking it as being bad. But what I'm saying is that Josh Allen thing is correct, making a lot of big plays, making a lot of turnovers in the process. But it's weird because that's not been Joe Flacco's thing his whole career. He's been the guy who's kind of like let the defense and the running game do his thing. I just do what I got to do when I got to do it.
It's January.
And in this case, in this case here, he's just putting the team on his back basically.
This is what he looked like when he won the Super Bowl with the Ravens.
Yeah, I'm telling you, if he wins the Super Bowl, it's going to be an amazing story because not only just because it's Joe Flacco, but it's also the Browns.
And Joe Flacco was eating Pringles when he got called up. Crazy
story there. Now, one thing that's been really helpful, though, is they've been keeping him very clean. The offensive line has been doing their thing. No sacks allowed at all in Week 16. Jendrick Willis is out as left tackle. Backup Jaron Christian will have to deal with defensive end Jonathan Greenard, who led the Texans with 12.5 sacks last season there. Now, he typically stays over the left tackle the entire time. Now, I should say this, though. That was also the same matchup at Week 16. So it's not like that injury happened since then. But it's something that, can you expect somebody who's a backup to go into left tackle and 2 times in a row stop somebody who's averaged almost a sack a game? Not the easiest tackle in the world to stop. Yeah. On the right tackle side, James Hudson's also a backup. You're going to see a lot of backups in this game. I'll be the first to assure you on this. For all the Giants fans, and that's including myself, who want to use all these injury issues as the reasons we suck this year. You want to talk about team injured. Look at the Browns. Joe Flacco's coming off the streets. You're talking about Justin Pugh coming off the couch. This guy came off the lazy boy recliner.
Joe Flacco. He had to stop because he got the call. Whoa, My
They
hand's
lose their
stuck.
quarterback, they lose their running back, they lose both their tackles, and they just keep going. They just keep
Well,
going.
they lose their running back. They lose their running. I'm sorry. They lose their quarterback. They lose their quarterback. They lose their quarterback. They get Joe Flacco. They lose their running back. They pick
But I
up
was
Kareem
saying,
Hunt.
like,
They kick Kareem Hunt out.
it's been a really weird season for them. I'll tell you that. It really has. Now, but again, James Hudson's got to deal with number 3 overall pick from this year's draft, Will Anderson, who had 7 sacks this season as well. So they have some pass rushers in the Texans. It's just a matter of whether or not they actually get to them, because the Browns do have a really, really good offensive line. I wonder why they have a good offensive line. Oh, yeah, that's right, because Callahan's like the best offensive line coach in all of football. That's why you pick a good one. Hopefully we got one now too. Amari Cooper. Talk about a guy that went off. Absolutely off in week 16 there. He basically did 20 some odd % of his stats there in one game. It's absolutely crazy. He had 265 yards, 11 receptions, and 2 touchdowns. Like, that's a hell of a lot of production in 1 week.
That's all.
On the season, he had 72 receptions, 1,250 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Needless to say, that was his best game all season long.
Yeah.
And what was his best season all career long? So, yeah. Like I said, he had over 20% of his season's total in that one game. And then the Texans were only, slightly above average when it came to covering wide receivers, averaging a 90.5 rate, which is 13th best in the league. So the question with that is now, can it be written off as a bad week of the Texans? Or can it be that Cooper saw a flaw? I'm kind of curious to see how he does in this game, because I think it's the latter, actually. I really do. The Texans have been known for allowing big plays, and they've been very good at stopping short routes. So when you look at 11 catches, 265 yards, it doesn't take a genius to figure out the average of about, almost 20 yards a carry? Almost 20 yards a catch?
Give or take.
That's big plays. 2 touchdowns. That's big plays. So he saw the weakness. He's going after it. So they're going to have to change the game plan up against them, that's for sure. But they do still have to be pretty good against those short routes, because keep in mind the Browns still have David Njoku, the 81 receptions on the season, 882 yards, 6 touchdowns, along with former Jet Elijah Moore, who seems to have finally found a home there. 59 receptions, 640 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So they got some short route pieces too that you can't just worry about over the top with Cooper and just say screw it.
Yeah, they got some weapons over there. Say the least.
Yeah. So what you can say is screw it is, personally, if I'm the Texans, I'm saying I'm going to run the ball. Run the ball all you want. I want you to run the ball. You're not as good with the run at that point. Jerome Ford is our lead back right now, 813 yards in the season with a 4.0 yard per carry average there with 4 touchdowns. Houston, though, has allowed running backs a league low 3.3 yards per carry. So it's like, this is what I'm saying. This is where the issues are. You got the Texans are built to pass the ball, going against the best one of the big defense, arguably in all of football. Then you have the other side, the Browns are meant to pass the ball, going against a team that's much better against stopping the run. Am I giving it away what my thoughts are on this game already?
A little bit there.
Numbers don't lie, guys. Numbers don't lie. Now, anything can happen any given Sunday, but
especially during wild
we'd
card
be
week.
remiss. We'd be remiss if we didn't also mention, of course, Myles Garrett, one of the biggest, the best talents in all of football. There, obviously, he wants his presence known in this game. 14 sacks in the season, tied for 7th most in the NFL, and he may get a chance to go ahead and do some damage against the Texans. There, he's given up 47 sacks on the season. Only 9 teams in the NFL have given up more, so that's definitely an area of weakness for them. So we'll have to see what happens there. But you want to give your picks first, there, Rob, since I've already kind of given mine away?
Oh yeah, I mean this is pretty easy. I mean, I'm hoping for a really good game. I think it's going to be a little bit more offensive than defensive.
Oh yeah,
Granted, the defense is going to be there, but I am definitely going to take the over in this game. I want to give the advantage to the Texans because they're home, but I called it earlier this season. The Browns are just so hot right now. They're so hot going into the playoffs. They're so hot right now. And I just think January Joe is going to pull this out, and obviously he's going to cover the spread. So, yeah, Browns in the over.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat as you. Browns, and over. I'm actually think it's a pretty low over/under, mostly because of how good the Browns defense is. But I think the Texans will put up just enough to get that over.
Yeah, same.
All right.
Especially if the Browns put up 30, it shouldn't be too hard.
Yeah, no. Next up, we got the evening game here, Saturday night.
Saturday.
No, Jeff Saturday. No Jeff Saturday.
No.
Oh yeah. So you got the Dolphins at the Chiefs. The Chiefs are 4.5 point favorites there. Over under on it's 44. And the big tail, and I'll say is we gave a different breakdown style for each of these games here based on what's going on. The big issue going on right now is the Miami hospital is full of Dolphins players right now. And to be honest, guys, this to me has all the signs of a blowout game. I don't think this is going to go well for the Dolphins at all. I really don't. I'm giving that part away right now. Let me go over the injuries. The Dolphins are without starting linebackers, starting offensive linebackers. Yeah, okay. And starting outside linebackers, Jalen Phillips, Andrew Van Ginkel, and Bradley Chubb. The three of them used to be like a trio that they would spell in and out at that point there and keep fresh legs going. All three of them are out. Melvin Ingram will probably be called up in the practice squad. You remember him? He played for the Chargers back in 1987. He's got to be I feel bad saying that because these guys are like 7-8 years younger than me, but oh well. But yeah, I mean, he's in his like mid-30s at this point, basically. He'll be called up in the practice squad alongside Emmanuel Ogba. The Dolphins also signed James Houston and Bruce Irvin. So at this point, they're like the Expendables of the edge rushers at this point. They're like seriously, like
go.
Bruce Irvin's what, 32, 33? James Houston's got to be 34, 35. I mean, yeah. And both of those guys, by the way, have already been picked up and dropped by other teams. It wasn't like somebody dropped them so the Dolphins can pick them up as a courtesy to them at the end of their career to maybe chase a ring or something. No, these are guys that were walking the streets. Yeah. That's bad. Now you think that's bad, though. It gets worse. Former Pro Bowl cornerback Xavier Howard will be out for their second straight week, and we all know how last week went for them. They'll be likely to be using a heavy dose of Eli Apple. The Giants fans, of course, know all too well from his time with us.
Him and
Eli Apple. Beneath him, their third corner, if another injury happens, is Kader Kahoo. I'm maybe mispronouncing that name because let's be very frank, he will not be in the league probably next year the way he's playing. He allowed a passer rating of 132.2 when targeted this season.
That's good, right?
That's your third best corner. These are issues, guys. These are major issues. Major issues. Starting inside linebacker Jerome Baker returned from a left knee injury last week, only to break his wrist against the Bills on Monday to end his season. His backup, Duke Riley, is dealing with an ankle injury, but is expected to play alongside David Long Jr. Besides those two, they have Calvin Munson, who's been on the team for about a month, and Channing Tindall. Both of them are primarily special teams contributors. So there are two inside linebackers, one dealing with an injury, one healthy. Their backups are a guy who's been on there for a month and a guy who only plays special teams.
Well, the Chiefs' offense needs all the help.
It's getting a lot of help. Trust me, it's getting a lot of help, guys. As far as there's some of their stars on offense, Jalen Waddle with the ankle injury and Raheem Mostert with his knee ankle injury are both expected to be back. But how effective will they be coming off these injuries? We don't know that part. Weather. This is the biggest contributor to this game, me going, the Dolphins won't do it, besides all these injuries. At time of kickoff, the weather is forecasted to be 6 degrees. No, I didn't say 60. 6, the single digit.
6, period.
Like the pick we have in the draft, 6.
Yeah. If it's Celsius, it would be in negatives.
Yes. Now, it's also negatives in the wind chill, negative 12-degree Fahrenheit wind chill. That's how cold it's going to be. First off, oh my God, guys, am I very happy to not be going to this game. You could not pay me to go to this game.
No.
There's a reason I moved to Florida. I do not like cold weather. But I'm also looking at it from this perspective. What are the Dolphins built on? The Dolphins are built on speed. What does cold kill? Speed.
So my biggest thing on this game is what's the over-under on how many times they're going to say how cold it is outside during this game.
Oh, my God.
I'm going to go 53.5, and I'm probably going to go over on that.
I guarantee they're talking about Taylor Swift's winter wardrobe the entire second half because the game's going to be that bad.
During the halftime, yeah.
Yeah. Well, look, she's wearing a jumper from, I don't know, Versace.
Lululemon.
Oh, Lululemon. Like that. What's that girl that was dating the Bengals quarterback that everybody couldn't get over this week? She was in a skin tight onesie. You can Google her. You might want to Google it incognito because some things might pop up. But not battling a woman, but it's like all week long. That's all I kept seeing is pictures of that girl on for some reason. He's already looking it up. But yeah, you'll see that with Taylor Swift probably. Now, here's the other thing, though. Let's say hypothetically it was good weather. Hypothetically, the Dolphins were healthy. The Dolphins are 1-5 against teams with a winning record this season. Do you know who the one team they beat was? And they barely beat them. The Dallas Cowboys, who will go over their record in a minute. Because if you want to talk about a fraud in the NFL, it's the Cowboys. And I know people are going to think, oh, we're Giants fans. We're just playing homers. Listen, I give you guys my honest opinion. I have the actual facts to back these things up. I don't just state BS because I hate them. I do hate them. So it helps my case that this stuff is legit.
Little sign language for you.
I don't know sign language. I just finished watching that show. Yes. I just finished watching that show Echo too.
How was it?
It was actually a pretty good show. I saw a lot of people knocking it. I saw a lot of people knocking it, but I did not think it was a bad show. Now, if you're expecting a crazy sci-fi kind of thing like that, like a typical Marvel movie, you're not going to like it very much.
Yeah, it's supposed to be grounded.
Yeah, it's much more grounded, and there's some kind of supernatural-esque kind of Native American stuff going on there during the thing, but it's definitely not like your typical. But it's good. It's good. It's like it's only 6 episodes. I watched it last night actually.
All at once. I was going to start watching last night, but I want to go to sleep.
I watched the whole thing in one night. Good show. Anyway, Dolphins 1-5 against teams with a winning record. Chiefs obviously have a winning record. Most teams you play in the postseason have a winning record. So they were already kind of facing a uphill battle in my eyes there. But you throw all those injuries in. Now you throw the weather into it. Talk about like the loss this week costing them so much, guys, because they had won against the Bills. They would have the home game. They'd be playing the Steelers, and we'd be having a totally different conversation about the Dolphins.
This is true.
Yeah.
I mean, listen. No. I mean, Kansas City, that's their home field, but it's still negative 12. Negative 12 is negative 12. So it's going to affect them as well.
It is.
What I do have to say on the counterpoint of that is Kansas City has not looked like the Kansas City of the past few years, this past season. So, like, yes, the Dolphins have been a house of cards with one win against a winning team. but it was kind of like one of these teams had it, like between the Cowboys and the Dolphins. One of the teams had to win because
and they barely won. I think it was like a 2-point win.
Yeah, I believe something like that. So there's I wouldn't be too surprised about what goes on in this game, but I definitely, I guess I'm giving my picks down. I definitely give the advantage to the Chiefs, so I took them straight up. But I did take the Dolphins in this spread because I do think it's going to be a little bit of a closer game. And 44 with these two teams, I just felt like it was a little too low. So I took the over, but I don't think it was over 50.
So I got to be honest and say that I was close to picking the spread pick for the Dolphins not because I think they have a chance. I think they'll be out of it very quickly. I just think that this is going to be one of those low-scoring games, like that low, that they could win like 3-0 the Chiefs because the weather's going to be that bad. It's going to be that miserable. And I have the under for that reason as far as the weather. I am picking the Chiefs to do it, mostly because of the fact that the Chiefs have some guys that are more the ground and pound kind of runners that win in these kind of cold environments. Like, can you imagine, A-Chain trying to go out there in negative 14 wind chill at 145 pounds of whatever he weighs? That man's going to be freezing.
He's going to look like the kid from the Christmas Carol.
Yeah. Like, you're talking negative 12 wind you're running into. Good luck, Tyreek Hill.
You just might get blown away.
And don't get me wrong. If there's a guy on that field who wants to win, it's Tyreek Hill.
Oh, yeah. It's a double whammy
going against his old squad and everything. Like, he wants to, but yeah. I think you'll see a lot of short passes to Travis Kelce. I think you'll see Isaiah Pacheco doing some good runs up the middle. And I think that the Chiefs will get just enough points on the field to do something. And the Dolphins, I think, are going to have a lot of problems in this game. I really do. So, yeah, I got Chiefs, and under.
Coolio.
Gangster's Paradise?
Yeah. Been living most of my life, living in a negative 12 to Kansas City, Missouri.
Oh, need some chili to wake up from that. All righty. We got Sunday's game. So before we do that, real quick, let's pay the bills. We got a couple of comments there from Deb that we're going to go over there real quick. And then let's go.
Enjoying the show? Looking for more goofball action? Consider a membership at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Memberships start at just $5 and give you additional goofball access. One-time support payments also available starting at just $3. buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs.
Alrighty. See, Deb first is, I think they were already deciding as they had to know this was coming long before this. And I think that was in relation to the comments we're talking about as far as the offensive line. They were probably scouting people very early on during the season for this, which is a valid point. Definitely a valid point. But again, I think this is such a shitty line last year that you probably scared some people off.
It could be that. I mean, you could
think of it this way: if you were a head coach and you're looking at the teams right now to be a head coach, are the Panthers high on your list? Because they're the crappiest team. You have the hardest job to take that job.
I mean, yes, they're the crappiest team, but there's some talent there. Like, there's stuff to work with. I think the biggest part. I think
we are the Panthers of the offensive line.
I think the biggest problem is the owner who wants to put his hands in everything and just think it's an overnight fix by hiring a new head coach.
I hear you. I'm just using that as an analogy, though. I'm just saying you don't take the shittiest team because you have the worst chance of succeeding. If you want to be an elite offensive line coach and you're taking over a team that literally has the worst offensive line, one of the worst ones ever, just based on the production they gave in sacks, you got your work cut out for you. Some people will not want to go near that.
Yep, and so I mean, a lot of guys out there also have egos.
That's why I said open checkbook.
Yeah.
So
make it rain.
Now Deb says also, more I hear on the week drama, the more kudos I give to Dable for keeping it all together during all this crap. Yes, 100%.
Yes.
And I'm not saying Dable's innocent in this whole thing either. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm sure Dable messed up somewhere along the line. He's got a hothead. We see him going off every single game at least once. But yeah, you didn't hear issues like crazy. You didn't hear, you didn't see people freaking out on the sidelines and all. You didn't see players taking sides. Like, yeah, kudos to him.
No
and
glares.
Then she says, "Is Giants Insider the name to go by?" I found NYG 366 on Facebook that had the McKinney News. I don't see Giants Insider. I don't think they're on Facebook. To be honest, a lot of Giants people aren't on Facebook. The one you mentioned, NYG 366, is definitely one of the bigger ones on there. As far as Facebook specifically, I would say this: if you want negative news and people that hate the Giants and pretend to root for them, that's a great one. I don't like those guys personally. I follow their stuff just to see in case they happen to break any news, but I'm not a fan. You'll get no positivity out of those guys no matter what, and they're kind of jerks, to be honest.
I'm gonna go watch them.
I actually got to go on one of their shows a couple of years ago, way before we ever did this podcast, and they were just absolute jerks. So I have no interest in helping them in any way, shape, or form. There's very few people that I'll say that about content-wise. Them I'll say that about in a heartbeat. And I'll say this is me, not Rob, saying this. I'm not trying to put him in there saying that. But
I haven't followed them or listened, so
I'm just saying I don't want to put words in your mouth. But yeah, she said she found them on YouTube. Yeah, YouTube, you'll definitely find them on. So all right, let's get into the last couple of games here. We're on to Sunday. We got Sunday and Monday. We got 3 more games to go. We're 4. That's right. Oh my gosh, so many games to go. We're an hour and 5 minutes, guys. It's gonna be another long episode. I thought about it too. Like, should we just do a Friday episode instead for this? And I'm like, we're gonna have plans Friday. Probably it's Friday night. People got things to do besides listen to us. So let's get into it. Sunday, 1 p.m. Steelers at the Bills. Bills are a 10-point favorite in this. Over under is 36. Now think about that for a moment. The over under is 36, and they expect the Bills to win by 10 points.
Yeah, it's pretty sad.
That means they expect 13-26 to be the score.
Something around there, yeah.
Well, that's the math. I did the math for you. I did the math. I love doing the math. That's crazy. Anyway, Steelers are on a 3-game winning streak. That should be noted that 2 out of the 3 games, the Bengals and the Ravens, the teams did not have their starting quarterbacks. So they definitely lucked out a little on who they played when they played them. On top of that, they played in the middle of that the Seahawks, who, if I remember correctly, Geno Smith was just coming back from injury that game too.
Correct.
So can't say he was 100%. So like I said, part of it is luck, but a 3-game winning streak is a 3-game. But 3-game winning streak is a 3-game winning streak. So let's call it what it is. The Bills, meanwhile, they were on a 5-game winning streak. That's goddamn impressive. That's like a 30-year season. So basically,
that's how he's so hot right now.
So the Bills' offense is 6th overall in points per game, 4th overall in yards per game, 1st and 3rd down percentage. The Steelers' defense, 6th overall in points allowed, 5th overall in best red zone percentage. So that's a good battle there. The offense of the Bills versus the defense of the Steelers. I think we can agree on that one.
Yes. I mean, so many games they've had where it's like in the teens. That's where they win. They have 17 points against 14 or whatever.
Yes.
They get big stops.
Now, TJ Watt, though, who is probably their best defender on the team, is going to be out, though, for the game with an injury. So the big question is, how much is that going to affect the Steelers' defense?
Oh, big time. He's probably one of the best players on the team.
If not one of the best players in all of football.
Yeah.
And then on the Bills' offense side, the big issue right now is Stephon Diggs and what's going on with him. He hasn't hit 100 yards since the game against us back in the middle of October against the Giants there. Only 2 games over 75 yards in that time frame. Yet 5 under 40, including 3 out of his last 4 games prior to the Dolphins matchup, where he happened to have 87, this most since that Giants game. So that's after starting the season 620 yards in his first 6 games. And he ended up the season with 1,183. When you start off at 620 through 6 games, guys, You're expecting an 1,800-yard kind of season.
Not everyone's Tyreek Hill, and the stuff saying with Tyreek Hill, like that's.
But I'm saying that's the pace he was at.
Yeah, I
That's
understand, but you can't expect that, like, just because that was what you're currently doing.
But what I'm saying, would you expect to do 1,100 yards?
No, that's definitely
in the first 6 games. He had more than half of his yards in the season.
Yeah, but also other defenses looked at that and like, all right, how do you stop this team? Take Diggs out of it. And guess what? Then they game planned around it and figured out a way to win.
I also wonder how much of that is the new offensive coordinator.
Yeah, but I mean, the new offensive coordinator came more towards right after the bye, right? So you're talking week 11.
I'd have to look to see what week he was.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't 6.
But I have to look it up. Let's see here. I'm trying to look at it real quick. And it was his name. Why am I? Ken Dorsey. There we go. Ken. That was his name. I'm like, who is the old one? Ken Dorsey fired November 14th.
Yeah. So like week 10, week 11.
Yeah, I'm just saying he's had his worst game since they got the OC. So
well, he had four to 5 games that weren't that good before the OC.
4 out of 5 games where he scored under 40 yards.
Yeah, I'm saying like week 6 he had like you said 620, and then in that 4 to 5 weeks until they got rid of Ken Dorsey, he still had a goose eggs. So it wasn't just Dorsey.
So, but that's what I'm saying. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. What's going on? Is he not being utilized because he's injured? Is there an issue with him on the team overall? There's always whispers every offseason about him. I don't know. I'm just curious.
I think it's just, like I said, the teams that they played defended him. They took their best offensive player out of it. And what they've also done a lot in the second half is run the ball because they weren't doing that the first half of the year. So that also changes the dynamic of how many times you're going to throw it down to Diggs.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right in that.
They forgot how to run the ball at the first half of the year.
So let's do this assumption for a second. I think it's a safe assumption. We can assume that the Bills' offense and the defense of the Steelers matched up pretty well to each other. Therefore, it is a potentially correct assumption to assume that the matchup that will decide this game is the Steelers' offense versus the Bills' defense. So therefore, let's compare. The Bills allow 18.3 points per game, which is 8th best in the league. They allow 307.2 yards per game. That is 9th best in the league. The Steelers' offense, 17.9 points per game in the season. 28th in the league. Keep in mind, 34 teams, guys. 304.3 yards per game. 25th best in the league. I think it's safe to say the Bills have a much better defense than the Steelers have an offense. That, to me, is a deciding factor where I go, you know what?
And their third-string quarterback is playing for the Steelers, Mr. Rudolph.
Is that official?
Last I heard, yes.
Okay. Because I was also looking to see that. Actually, I think you could make the case that Mason Rudolph's been playing better than anybody else has been, actually. They've been winning with him the last couple of weeks. I
mean, Pickett's got hurt. I don't want to say he played better than him, but I think this is the game where he gets pants because this is what his 4th game he'll probably be starting.
Yeah. He won the first 3.
Yeah. I think he'll get pants in the wild card.
Well,
just like a regular season. Yeah, pretty much any backup quarterback after 4 games, they show who they are. Colors come out.
Yep.
You go black, yellow, sack.
This is going to be a Bills killing. Bills to win. I got the Bills to cover. And I still have under on the points. Because I think they're going to basically shut out the Steelers.
Damn. Well, I have the Bills to win, but I took the Steelers in the cover, that 10, because that's.
I know. I think it's going to be
That's a
that bad.
lot.
I really do.
But I also took the over because I do think it's going to be – they're going to lose – I don't think they're going to lose by 10, but they're definitely going to lose by 7.
Okay.
And I do think it's going to go over just because 36, there's just like – once the Bills put up 26 points, 30 points, it's Steelers, they put up their 15, 20 points. It'll probably be closer to 40, 46.
We shall see. We shall see. And
We
if anybody has
shall.
any different opinions than us as well, guys, feel free to pop in the comments what you think on the game as well. I'm always curious to get other people's feedback on that. Let's get into the game that I have a feeling I'm not going to like watching. The Packers and the Cowboys. Cowboys are a 7.5 point favorite in the game. Over under is 50.5. God damn. That's the Lieutenant Damn. Like, that's a lot of points, guys. So, the big question here is, for me at least, who are the Cowboys? We've gone through a whole season. I don't think I have the answer to that question still, guys. Either way, I'd love to give you the answer as being their shit and as their schedule. I don't know what they are still. The Cowboys are 8-0 at home, guys.
It's pretty damn impressive.
So they definitely got that going for them right now, as far as this being a home game. So, but guys, they're 12-5 in the season. What does that tell you they are? 4-5 on the road. That's a little weird.
Myth.
That's a little weird. Against current playoff teams, 3-4 in the season. They had 8 games they played this season that were against teams that earned top 6 picks in the draft. 2 times they beat us. 2 times they beat the Commanders. 1 time they beat the Panthers. 1 time they beat the Patriots. 1 time they beat the Chargers. 1 time they actually lost to the Cardinals.
Yes.
That's 7-1, guys. That's 7-1 against teams that literally were the top 6 worst teams in the NFL for the season. It means they're 5-4 the rest of the way, guys. Basically a 500 team when they weren't facing lower end talent. So it's hard to judge the Cowboys because of how easy their schedule was. They had literally the 3rd softest schedule based on strength of schedule in the league. For those who are going to complain, because I'll get some Cowboy fans, I'm sure, going, oh, you're just hating on us. No. The numbers are there. The numbers don't lie, point blank. Their strength of schedule was 0.446. That's the 3rd weakest, not the NFC East. That's the 3rd weakest in the NFL. The NFL. Now,
of cards.
The 2 teams that had worse strength of schedules than them, by the way, are in the NFC South because they had to play the Carolina Panthers twice. That really hurts your strength of schedule when you play the worst team twice. Plus, your divisional champion was barely over 500. Yeah, that's the only teams that beat the Cowboys in strength of schedule. It was the Falcons and the Saints. So, yeah. To give you a comparison, the Giants and the Commanders tied for the toughest schedule in the NFC East with the strength of schedule of 0.512. It's a big difference. It's a big goddamn difference, guys. So, even their win against the Eagles, which is one of their signature wins, was in the second half of the season when the Eagles started losing to everybody, including us.
That's another team that's a house of cards. We'll talk about them in a little bit.
And we talked about that a minute ago, that they're the only team with a winning record to lose to the Dolphins this season. The Dolphins were their own house of cards. You had house of cards versus house of cards in the matchup, right? And the Cowboys were the weaker house of cards. Like I said, I really think that a lot of what the Cowboys did this year was because of the lack of talent they were playing against. And that, again, That includes us. I'm not talking trash as if the Giants were the greatest things since sliced bread. We sucked all pretty much all year to the last like 5-6 weeks.
Yeah, they spanked us week 1.
Absolutely spanked us twice. We call it what it is. But you're supposed to do that when you're a good team.
Yeah.
But what you're not supposed to do is go 500 against teams that are that aren't in the top 6 of worst teams in the NFL. That's an issue.
It's a big issue.
And if Cowboy fans don't see it, they're just being ignorant. Same ignorance they've showed since 1996. And yes, of course, I use that year for a reason. So like I said, I don't know what the Cowboys are. I could look at stats all day long. The problem is those stats are against those teams. If I had the time to dive into it, I would have loved to dive into doing what the Cowboys did in those 5-4 games when they played teams that weren't the shittiest in the league and see what the difference is between their regular season numbers. I would have loved to have that kind of time, but I have things to do besides that. I had to disinfect my house today. I did. I've been stuck in the COVID wing there for how many days. I had to Lysol the hell out of it and do a bunch of laundry. So, I mean, but again, that's what we're staring at. Now, the Packers are also an unknown commodity at this point. They're 4-5 on the road against current playoff teams. They're 3-3. They're a very streaky team, though.
Yes.
They started this season 2-1. And that one loss was a 1-point loss to the Falcons. So they very easily could have started 3-0. Then they lost 4 in a row. Then they won 4 of their last 5. Then they lost 2. Then they ended the season winning their last 3. They're so streaky. They go through good and bad times that it's like, which Packers team is going to show up in Arlington? And I don't know.
3-0.
I'm telling you right now, if I am a betting man, I don't put a single dollar on this game because I don't know what Cowboys will show up. I don't know which Packers will show up. And this is the game that I am most unsure about out of all of them because I don't know what Packers team will we see. How will Jordan Love perform in his first game? You know, how legit are these Cowboys? Is that 8-0 at home, for real? There's so many questions I have in this game that I can't answer because it's just the information is not there. But we're going to find out how legit they are come Sunday. In the meantime, though, Rob, you go with your picks first. I went first last time.
Yeah, I'm the over-under is 50.5 in this game, and that's where I guess I'm going to start because I'm going to take it at the under. But I'm going to be a little bold here because the other headlines we were talking about this season, but historically, rookie quarterbacks don't really fare well going to the first playoff run.
No.
But what's even more historic than that is how bad the Cowboys have been since the last playoff run where they actually won a game.
They won a game last year.
I'm sorry. Since they've actually done something that's meaningful, they have been historically bad. More rookie quarterbacks have won games since that time than when the actual Cowboys actually done something meaningful in the playoffs. So I'm actually going to be bold here. I'm going to take the Packers to win this game. I think, Love's being streaky. I think McCarthy's going to do what he's been doing, even as a Packer, and just mess up the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it happening, honestly. And that's what I'm saying. There's not a single scenario you can tell me in this game that I'd be like, oh, that couldn't happen. Like every other game, I'm like, no, this couldn't happen. That couldn't happen. This, I don't know what the hell's going to happen. I have not a goddamn clue. And it's so funny because I love when you watch people all confident in these other shows that do like predictions, these well, based on this is going to happen, and based on that, and you could do that a lot of time. I'm telling you right now, the numbers will lie to you in this thing. The numbers will lie to you 100% in this matchup because it depends on which Packers you get, and it depends on what you trust or don't trust in those Cowboys. But I'm going to trust the Cowboys enough to give them the win on this pick. But I'm going to hedge that bet with saying the Packers for the spread pick. I am actually going to go over on the points. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I really do. I think this is going to be like the kind of game the Dolphins wish they were going to have.
It could, and I was very in the air about that. Oh, see what I did there? Because it's probably going to be a toss fest.
Oh, yeah.
But
all right.
Here's another saucy game.
So saucy.
So saucy.
Saucy.
This is a game I want to see in the NFC Championship, but here we go. Wild card weekend.
This is like,
boom.
There's two games I'm really looking forward to because I just think they'll be good matchups. And this is one of them. It's going to be the Texans and Browns, and this one. I think that's the two games that you'll notice based on how we're talking about them. Even these are the games that I want to watch more than anything else. Let's go for it. You can go for this one, Rob.
Finally, Matt Stafford has returned to Detroit.
Rock City.
Detroit, Rock City.
Get up.
Get down. This is this is the quarterback swap that's come back to play each other. And you got Stafford that has to go into Detroit for the first time and play who was traded for, which let's be real. The Rams won that trade because they won a ring. But
honestly, I could say that both teams won.
Oh, I think so, big time. Because
if Detroit didn't get those picks, they probably didn't build up the team they have now.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a win-win. And then I guess this is the battle.
Yeah,
see who
put a gun to my head. Yes, the Rams because they got the ring. I'm just saying, but I don't think either team can complain.
So I mean, you got the Rams, which I was talking a few weeks ago, getting a little saucy, getting a little hot. They won the last 7 of 8 games. Granted, we almost beat them, but
should have been 6 of 8.
Yeah, the Lions have also won 3 of the past 4 games, which they could have been 4-4 if it wasn't for the ref interference there. Both teams, when healthy, have an excellent offense all around that you can expect to show up. The difference will probably come down to their defenses. And I don't know how much I trust either of those defenses, but the Lions' pass defense is 91.5 passer rating, 21st in NFL, and 7.8 yards per attempt, which is 31st. They've also allowed a rating of 96.4 to wide receivers this season, which are Stafford's targets, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, and DeMarcus Robinson.
Yeah, we talked about that. We played them. They don't throw to tight ends. They don't throw to running backs. They throw to wide receivers. That's all they do. Yeah. That's
down
pretty much
field,
their offense.
Wide open.
Their offense is our receivers are better than your corners. Good luck. And they're not wrong.
No, it's working for them.
Yeah. Well,
Hutchinson,
that in the running game, we'll get to that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Hutchinson needs to make his presence felt. He had 5 sacks in the final 2 games of the season.
And that's not a typo.
Nope.
That's impressive.
Yeah, big time. He ended the season with 11.5. So, shows you what he did in the past few games. The Rams are tied with the 6th best prevented sacks this year. Pretty much.
They don't give them up. They don't give them up.
And this is the key maker for the Rams here, is the run of the game. They when Kyren Williams is there, he makes a difference. When Kyren Williams goes over 80 yards, they're 7-1. When the Lions have held running backs to the 3rd best 3.5 average in this season. Yeah. So this is where the game's going to be won, in the nitty-gritty. Right down
because that's the interesting part is they compare, and you look at that, and they match up somewhat well because you got a really good running back, potentially that you could make the case the 2nd best in the season if you want to give CMC the best. Second best running. That's what I'm saying. So 2nd best running back in the league this year.
Yeah, you could. That's definitely like a valid statement. Like it could be argued, but it's valid.
Yeah, like you said, arguably the second best.
Yeah.
Going against a top 5 run defense. So you got to figure those two will kind of cancel each other out to a certain degree. So that now puts you at a team that has great receivers and a team that can't stop receivers. That doesn't bode well for the Lions.
Yeah, no. And the Rams have held wide receivers to 88.7 rating, which is 12th in the league. So having Laporta.
That sounds like a wine.
Right?
Have
Nice
you had this
wine.
Cabernet from Laporta?
Pop.
Cabernet Sauvignon.
I
like wines. I like wines that have pictures of grapes on them that I know how to read the label of.
Yeah, so you know the fancy.
Does this taste like Welch's? That's what I'm looking for. You got any Manischewitz?
But obviously, like I said, their wine, their Laporta, they're nice, young, aged wine there.
It's a 20 Porta.
He would be the key to victory for Detroit. He hasn't practiced. Well, he still hasn't practiced yet. But also, he's not ruled out. He had a knee injury last week, which could be like, hey, rest up, young buck, and do your thing come Sunday.
Could be.
Yeah.
So don't forget, though, we got to talk about the Lions rush offense, too.
Oh, we do.
You skip a paragraph in the notes.
I did. You got me all excited. Talking about the Rams.
Oh,
anyway.
Hello.
Running has also been the key to the Lions' success with Montgomery, who's also did very well on my fantasy team. Thanks, Montgomery. And Jamar Gibbs as a duo. They have been a nice little back-to-back. The Rams are allowing a little 1-2 punch.
What's she going to do?
Rams are allowing 4.1 yards per carry, averaging 2 running backs. Keep an eye out on Ernest Jones in the run game, who also set the Rams' single season tackles number.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive.
Like I said, interesting, though, because now you have a team that we said on the Lions side, they can't stop the pass, but they're good at stopping the run. The Rams are both good run and pass games. So you got to think they're going to rely more on the pass game, which is not their key to victory. Now you have the Lions who have a very good run game going against a team that doesn't have a very good run defense. It's weird. These teams match up in weird ways. Yeah. This is not as cut and dry as the Browns and Texans, where I'm looking and I go, okay, weakness against strength, strength against weakness. Like, this is kind of like all over the place where you're like,
It's going to be a fun game.
It's going to be a fun. I really think it is. This is if I had to pick one game to watch this week, this would be the one.
Yeah. This is the game where I might put it in my DVR, just bloop, watch it later.
Pop in my blank cassette into my VCR.
Yeah.
Hit the record button.
It took me 10 years to figure out how to do it, but I got it.
Damn thing's still flashing 12 o'clock.
Yeah. Anyway, the Rams pass rush features tackles.
Oh, you did? Okay, my bad. So you skipped the section.
You're
out of order. You're out of order. You're out of order. The whole court's
out of order. Ding, 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 ding. Anyway, Toby Turner had 9 sacks. Adrian Darnold had 8 sacks.
Adrian Darnold? Who's Adrian Darnold?
Darnold.
You mean Aaron Donald?
Yes. Adrian Arnold.
He was a more well-known player.
It should, because he had 8 sacks.
Sam Darnold's brother.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
But it's very exciting because this is the first playoff game for Detroit in 30 years.
Well, in Detroit.
Yes. This is the first playoff game in Detroit in 30 years.
Yeah.
They haven't won a playoff game in 22 years. And when was the last time they were in the Super Bowl?
Never.
Exactly.
So will the streak end, Rob? What you got? You might want to give people, by the way, the over-under. I think you forgot to give them in the beginning.
I probably did. So just to recap, because We went a little while on that. So the over on this game is 51.5 points, and the Rams are +3. They're giving respect to the Lions at home. I jumped on the Lions train a little early in the season, but I've been riding that Rams train. I think it's going to be fun, good game, but I do think right now the Rams are the better team.
Yeah.
They're just running hot. I think they win. They're obviously going to cover, and I think it's going to be a fun, high-scoring game. So I'm taking the over as well.
Yeah. No, I'm with you 100%, except for the over. I got the under. I think the Rams will win. I think every single team, when you look at their history of being, building up to something special, it's one and out the first time they get the playoffs. It's what they do. So this is the Lions' first time in the playoffs with Dan Campbell and this crew. And I think it's that kind of thing. They're going against the guy who's a very savvy veteran quarterback who's now got a ring. They're going against a team that's been there, a team that has playoff experience, and they're going to be less, lights in their eyes, so to speak. Yeah. So I just think that's going to be the difference. And I think the Rams win. I think they win pretty wholeheartedly. And I think it's going to be under on the points, especially if Sam Laporte is out. Keep an eye on that because that's a big potential changer. He has been their go-to in the end zone. He's been an amazing rookie tight end.
Yeah. He is arguably like one of the, talks of rookie of the year, which is probably going to be CJ Stroud, but
I say CJ Stroud get that, but yeah, he'll be a nominee.
Yeah,
and the nominees are
Puka.
That's the bigger one, Puka Nacua. I mean, it's kind of hard not to give it to the guy who broke the records, but yeah, CJ Stroud will probably get it. All right, on to the last game.
We did it. Let's go. Monday night, 8 o'clock.
Monday night.
Night.
You got the Eagles at the Buccaneers. Buccaneers are +3 with an over-under of 44. Why don't you go over the game, Rob?
Oh, yeah. So anyway, that Bucks are +3 at home. The over-under in this game is 44.
I just said that.
I wasn't paying attention to you. You said go over the game. I'm starting from the top. I left that last time.
Way to not pay attention to the program you're on.
I just want to dot my I's and cross my T's. All right. This team already met in week 3. The Eagles won 25-11. Both these teams aren't the same team since week 3. There's been a lot of changes. No. The Eagles were carried in that game by 2 players on offense. DeAndre Swift, who had a heck of a game, which everyone thought he was going to be like their starter, which didn't happen, had 130 yards rushing. His last 100-yard game of the season. A.J. Brown, who fell off since October, but he had 131 receiving yards, who's also only had 100-yard game since end of October, by the way. Mm-hmm. Jalen Hurts threw 2 picks in the game, but the Bucs couldn't do anything about it. It's a little different this time of year. The Eagles have lost 5 of their last 6 games after starting 10-1. Talk about that last house of cards.
And could have lost the game they did win. That was the first game matchup against us. That was a very close game.
Yeah, it was very close. Those 10 wins during the stretch were those 10 games during the stretch were by average of just 6.9 points. 7 of them were by less than a touchdown. Jalen Hurts is the key to the Eagles winning or losing because when he's hot, he's hot. When he's not, he's not.
Oh, yeah.
He has thrown 8 interceptions and their 6 losses compared to the 7 and their 11 wins. He has 24 turnovers on the season. Can he perform potentially without his top 2 receivers? I don't think so.
Nor do I.
Yeah. The Eagles suffered a ton of injuries last week against the Giants. A.J. Brown, knee, questionable to play. I'm sure he's going to play because that's who he is. Jalen Hurts, finger.
That's how bad that knee is, dude. That's sometimes you can't.
Yeah, we shall see. Which finger was this Jalen Hurts? Is his left hand, right? No, it's not throwing hand. right?
I cannot remember off the top of my head right now.
Well, he's questionable.
I'm still laughing because of what Bobby Okereke did to him in that game.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Devontae Smith ankle was questionable. Darius Slay is coming back from his knee surgery, but could also be a step slower, so we'll see. DeAndre Swift has been dealing with an illness all week. I know you're down in Florida and you just had the COVID, but there's been a non-COVID illness coming up around the tri-state area.
Yeah. Oh, I know. It's been happening around here too. Had all kinds of stuff. There's been a flu. There's been like a upper respiratory disease thing going around too. There's been all kinds of stuff.
COVID.
By the way, I'm looking at the pictures. He dislocated his middle finger of his throwing hand.
Oh, that seemed.
It was his right hand.
I didn't even need to know that to
middle finger.
Yeah. What's dislocated? I don't know.
How's he going to survive in Philly if he can't flip people off?
Right? He's got the other hand. That's why you got two hands, two fingers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sidney Brown is out with his knee. Let's talk about the Bucs.
By the way, remember we talked about him in the draft last year. He has turned out to be as good as we thought he'd be. He was one of those guys we said if you need a safety and you want to get him like the second, third round, Sidney Brown. Sure enough. Saying sometimes we're right. Sometimes we're right.
Sometimes. Just sometimes. So you're saying there's a chance.
I just wish it wasn't. I just wish it wasn't with guys the Eagles draft, but unfortunately.
Well, let's talk about the Bucs then. Let's talk about some Sunnyside Florida stuff over here. The Bucs average, exactly. The average just 20.5 points per game, 20th this season. Over the past 2 months, they have been averaging 22.7 through points per game through just 9 points the last week versus the Panthers. That was a dud game, so that really put down their average. Did you watch any of that game? Because it was god awful. I know we recapped it, but bluff. Anyway, Bucs defense is the key, and especially if the Eagles receivers don't play, especially if Jalen Fingers bird finger is messed up as well. So if the receivers don't play and Hurts is messed up, then this could be a shutdown defense on Monday. The Bucs allow just 19.1 points per game, 7th through, though they allow 344.2 yards per game, 23rd in the NFL. This is a bend but don't break defense, which means they're great in the red zone. That does have trouble on third downs, allowing 40.89%, 23rd in the NFL, but it's great at preventing touchdowns. 42.59 red zone scoring, 3rd in the NFL. So,
yeah. So I also looked something up because I meant to do that when I was doing the notes here. When I said that the Panthers went to 22.7 points per game over the last 2 months, if they had done that hypothetically, Bucs, I'm sorry, if the Bucs had done that hypothetically the whole year, okay, they would go on from what I say they were in there. I said 20th in the league. They would have gone to number 11 just by that increase they did in the last couple months. So
sometimes when you're hot, you're hot.
Not too shabby there, guys. Not too shabby at all. I also did, while you were talking, I did a little research because it bothered me that I didn't know on the Dallas thing. So I have some Dallas news here to give you guys in a second, some stats that I think might be kind of helpful for this game here. Because it's bothering me that I can't for sure say who I think is going to win like that. I hate that. It irks me. So let's go over our picks here for that game, and I'll give you guys that information before we head out here.
Cool. What are you thinking about this Eagles Bucs game?
You know what? This is another game that I also would not want to bet money on. Just because if the Eagles all of a sudden flip a switch to become the old Eagles will destroy the Bucs. The current Eagles, though, will get beaten by the Bucs. So I got the Bucs to win, I got the Bucs to cover, and I have the under on the points.
I agree with you 100%, and I'm probably going to put that into my sports book and lock that in.
At the way the Eagles are playing right now, the staff at Buc-ee's could beat them.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, Buc-ee's. You guys don't have any Buc-ee's up there at all, do you?
No.
I'm telling you, you don't understand what you're missing. Oh, my God, this place is amazing. So, and next time you guys are visiting down south, go to Buc-ee's. You see one, go see signs for it like 2 hours before you even get near it. Go for it. Go take it. Go for it. So, all right, real quick then, before we get out of here, the information I said I had on the Dallas Cowboys. So, the Dallas Cowboys at home on offense, averaging 37.4 points per game. Not too shabby. On the road, 23.3.
Big swing.
A 14-point differential, guys. On their defense, they're averaging 15.9 points per game allowed at home. 20.9 on the road. That's a difference, but there's your difference right there is the offense. The offense can't 4 points away from home. I'm wondering, are they having issue with crowd noise or something? I'm just so curious when I see these kind of things.
They get shy.
They're so shy. Scared.
They're so startled.
We're gonna upset them if we score again. Let's not.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no.
All right, guys. We will see you guys again Monday night. We will go ahead and recap for you guys all of the games here pretty much during the weekend, except the Philadelphia Eagles and Bucs we just talked about, because that game will be going on as we're recording. Depending on how long the episode is, might be able to give you an idea of who's going to win based on that, but we'll see. And of course, I'm sure between now and then we'll have all kinds of additional Giants news to give you guys as well, because that's just the time of the year we're in. Things are moving quickly. Things are always popping. We could probably do a show every single day this next couple weeks and still probably have information for you guys. Literally, this is 2 nights in a row that we do the recordings. 2 nights in a row now that I'm like, should I put this off or should I put that off? Like, imagine if I had put off, like I talked about yesterday, splitting the episode because it was going to be a long one, doing just the information with the coaches and then doing like the cap casualties this week. I mean, this game, I would have. Oh my God, would never have been able to. Oh, so much there. So, all right, guys. So we will see you guys again on Monday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Remember, there are no more post-game shows because there's no more games to post. So we'll see you guys again Monday. As always, we are live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, /X, whatever you want to call it now, Twitch. We are back up on Instagram, some out of quarantine hell as well. And of course, as always, we are on
Bruce LinkedIn.
He can't help himself. My LinkedIn profile. He loves it. And of course, as always, we're available the next day on every audio podcast platform pretty much known to man. So we appreciate you guys listening in. As always, enjoy the wild card weekend it's going to be here. And hopefully next year we'll be talking about the Giants in it, or as a bye week. That'd be nice too. I'll take that.
Oh yeah.
And we'll see you guys on Monday. Enjoy. Have a safe and happy weekend there. As always, Giant fans,
go G-Man!
Go G-Man! Go G-Man!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support. If you made it this long, you must have enjoyed it. So I am sure you have followed us on all the social media platforms. Of course, you have subscribed to the show on your favorite app as well and given us a top rating. Right?
Thank you to those who have signed up for our silver gold levels of membership at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs.